Woohoo, that's right, yes. Many of you probably know Nuria. She is the owner of Novation Title. So many of you I know work with Novation, have seen Novation. I have known Nuria probably the entire time I've been in the mortgage industry. It's been a long time. So I am going to read a little bit of her bio because she's done a lot of amazing things, and I want to make sure she gets credit for that. So she's a transformational speaker, business owner, and self-development coach on a mission to inspire permanent change for her employees, her clients, and business leaders. Her thought leader has won the Best of State Award for her multi-million-dollar Salt Lake City title company Novation title for 6 years. Awesome. Boldly investing back into her employees, providing high-ticket life training, masterminds, financial literacy, nonprofit work, and travel experiences, to name a few. She has presented and in some cases as a keynote speaker in more than 30 stages across the nation, including on the TEDx stage. She has reached success as an immigrant in this country. She shares her wisdom and experience by actively teaching entrepreneurs how to scale their businesses while becoming the best versions of themselves. And she's also served with honor on NAREP's national board for over 5 years and was installed as the 2023 national president. Amazing. And she is actively a part of Tony Robbins' Platinum Partners and has been for the last 3 years as it fulfills her passion for learning. She feels passionate about giving back and has a nonprofit organization called Dreamers Foundation that holds a fundraising event to give back to other charities. They've held over 6 large events in the community to make an impact. So Nuria is going to share some of those stories with us and how we can implement that in our lives and our business. Let's give a big warm welcome to Nuria, please.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here. I've actually never had the opportunity to speak here in this amazing group today. So thank you for having me. Thank you. So some of you I do know, and I've been in the industry since I was 22, so I feel like I've grown up in here. So it's awesome to see your faces, and then there's some new faces, so nice to meet you. So when Brittany called me to invite me here to speak, and when she shared the topic, it was like a no-brainer for me to say 100% yes. I was so happy to hear that today's topic is about giving back, and I'm very excited to share some of the things I've been able to do in my life, because I truly believe that that is what life is about. You know, we can dream of the big houses, the money, the purses, the cars, and that I understand, and I'm not taking away from, because I feel like that's fun. However, you don't get to take any of that with you when you leave this world. What actually matters is the legacy that you leave, not in something that's materialistic, but rather something that keeps on giving for generations and generations to come. And so let's get started. Before, I just love to share a little bit of my story, because I feel like perhaps some of you will relate to it. So as Brittany mentioned, I've had the privilege and honor to learn from one of the masters, Tony Robbins, the last 3 years. And why this whole story really connects is because 10 years ago, I attended my very first Tony Robbins event. Do we have any fans in the house? Any Tony fans? Or okay, say yes. So this man has completely transformed my life in many ways. But I remember back in 2014, I was a very, successful escrow officer. I was the top escrow officer at my title company, but I felt very unfulfilled. I felt like I was reaching really high levels of goals. Like I would say, I want to close X amount of orders the next month, X amount of deals, and then I would hit the goal, and then I would be excited for like 5 minutes. And I was overworking. I was literally in the office till like 11 p.m. every night, coming in around 7 a.m., working Saturdays, sometimes Sundays, just to stay afloat because I didn't have enough support at the time. I did that for about a year. And although I had my major drive, I've always had that big ambition, I just knew that wasn't sustainable. And I found myself, hitting a high goal and then going and buying myself shoes or clothes. And then I'd hit a higher goal, and then I'd go and buy myself a car. And then I was very happy and excited, but it lasted 5 minutes. So I had to ask myself deeper questions. So why am I doing all of this for? Because I have my relationship was falling apart. I didn't have time for friends, hardly had time for family. So I'm like, why am I doing all this for? Like, what's the point? That's when I attended my first Tony Robbins event, UPW, and I had some huge breakthroughs during that time. But one of the most important key points that I took away from that first event was understanding that my human needs, and I'll talk about these in a little bit, were really backwards. Like, my priorities in life were a little bit backwards of what I wanted them to be. And if I really wanted to live a very fulfilled life, not only a successful life, because as Tony says, the ultimate failure is success without fulfillment. So what I took away from that was I needed to give back more. I needed to focus more on others than myself. So I came back and I started a nonprofit foundation called Dreamers Foundation. And I'll share a little bit more of the way we've been able to contribute to our community. And some of you have attended some of our events. But I focus much more on other people. And I found myself becoming very happy and feeling fulfilled when I was serving other people. And so that's become now my priority of pretty much how I run my life in every way, even in my business. I would not want to even do this company if I wasn't fulfilling and helping my employees continue to grow and reach their dreams. I would not care to own a title company where I wasn't bringing major value to our community in more than anyone else, as I believe. So for me, that's become a priority, and then I live a very happy life, and I happen to have a lot of success too. And so some fun stories. I arrived to the United States of America in 1995. This is me and my siblings really playing with the snow for one of the very first times, which was a very fun memory and experience. We didn't come from a place of snow. So my family is Mexican and Spanish. My father is Mexican. I was born in Mexico. Do we have any Latinos in the house? Woo, 2, 3, okay. And my mom's side of the family is from Spain. So that's my background. And as I knew that we were coming to the U.S., I knew that this was a land of opportunity, and I really knew that this was the place where I could have my dreams really come true. We had been away from my father for a few months because he had arrived to the U.S. before us. About 6 months we were apart, and I remember coming in December, right before Christmas, and that's one of my favorite Christmases ever. Not only because I was reunited with my father, our whole family was back together, but it was a very moving Christmas. So as an immigrant family, my father, found a basement apartment we could live in, started a whole life over, right? We left everything we had behind us. My parents, I am so grateful for them, and forever, just honored that they were willing to give up a whole life to move us to this beautiful country. And I remember one morning, I believe it was on a Saturday because we were all home, someone knocks on our door, and I opened the door, and there's, some adults, some older people, there just with boxes and boxes of gifts and food and gift cards. And I just remember they said, "We have something to give to you." We opened the door, and they just kept coming in, and it seemed like this endless, amount of gifts and things and food. And that moment was a huge defining moment for me because I couldn't believe that people that didn't know me and my family were willing to give so much to someone they just had never met. And that was my favorite Christmas. it made such an impact on me that ever since that day, I wanted to continue that. And so even if I was 11 years old, I found a way to like give something around Christmas, even if it was very little, you know? And I also knew that it was going to be up to me to like build my own wealth and create something of myself, right? And so that ambition was born, and I did every job I could as a little girl, like paper route, babysitting, cleaning schools, cleaning houses. I just wanted to make money. And then from those little things, then I would find a way to also give back. So what I feel is important, and Mother Teresa said this, she said, if you want to change the world, go home and help your family first. And I want to really reiterate that today because I feel it's super important. You know, you feel like it's so nice to have all of these opportunities to give back right now, especially this time of year, right? But have you looked at your family first, and are they okay? And are your circles okay? Do they need help? Because it's fun to get like recognition of like, oh, I donated all of these things, or I had a big event. But how's your family doing? And how are your inner circles doing? So I've always made sure to help my family as much as I can first. And then it expands from there, right? So then my inner circles, my extended family, my friends, and then of course my work family. I care so much about my employees, probably even more than my clients. No offense, I love you guys, but I deeply care about these people. And not only do I want them to achieve what they want in life, but I want to make sure that they're feeling fully supported and loved as well. So making sure my family at work is well, and then of course the community. And as I mentioned, I truly believe that that is leaving a real legacy in life. That is what you continue paying forward. And a lot of times when there's been these beautiful moments of giving back and that person's like so grateful for the, you know, the help, and all I say to them is just pay it forward. One day, pay it forward, you know, because I believe that's what matters. So I come back from the Tony Robbins event. I decide I'm gonna start a nonprofit foundation, and then I thought, well, what am I gonna help with? Because I want to help everyone, and I couldn't find a group of people that I really just could, you know, zone in on. So I decided I'm gonna create a nonprofit foundation that helps different groups, and that way I don't have to choose every year. I can choose a different one. And so my very first event was that year. And it's, by the way, if you ever want to create a nonprofit foundation, 501c3, it's a pain. I didn't realize how much paperwork went with it and all the process, but I was committed. So I launched my first event that November, and we raised over $10,000 for Big Brothers Big Sisters that year, and it was a really fun night, and a lot of people showed up. And then, you know, there's some pictures from the first event and then to the last one I held 2 years ago. And it's just grown so massively. Thanks to a lot of our people in the industry that, you know, have helped and shown up. But these are some of the community organizations that we've been able to give back to. So Big Brothers Big Sisters, we did Utah Domestic Violence Coalition, Western Resource Advocates to help clean our air, VOA, the Youth Homeless Shelter, and then actually for 3 years we've given back to helping with teen suicide and prevention and awareness of mental health and all of this. So that's Quit Trippin' and Pivot Adventure. So the last check we were able to give to Pivot Adventure was over $50,000. So you're seeing the ripple effect and the compound effect of something that was just an idea at one point to find a way to serve, to find a way to give. And, as I continue to have more of these events with Dreamers Foundation, but it's also important for me that it was something that I was practicing more consistently, because this was only once a year, and now with life and everything that's come, it's been more every other year. And during COVID, there was none. But as I moved on to defining how do I implement this more in a daily, manner, but also making impact consistently. So then I decided, well, I'm going to integrate it into our company. So it's important that everyone really does pay attention with the values that you hold. And I know you're probably like, yeah, I know, I have values and I understand it, but I don't think people really understand how powerfully they run your life. Your values literally run your life. And if you don't know what your major values are, you can look at the people you highly admire and look at the patterns that they each hold as far as similarities. And those usually are your values because you're seeing them in somebody else. But I thought, well, values, run your life, and also our company values. And one of them is contribution. And Novation title doesn't work with everyone. We know we're not for everyone. And we don't necessarily want to work with everybody. But we want to work with people who hold our same values, who share the same vision, who are in alignment with who we are. And so contribution is a huge part of who we are. And so every other month we give back to the community in one way or another, and it's a consistent thing. So we choose a different foundation or a different group. We've done so many amazing things, from delivering flowers to gathering codes to giving money to definitely our time, right? Showing up, to feed people breakfast. So it's a consistent part of our culture and who we are. And really what I found is that giving back and having the contribution aspect of your life as a priority is really a way of life. It's not like you're like, oh, one day I'm gonna, once a year, I'll donate a sweater. Or really, it should be a part of your daily life. It's a way of life. It's who you are. It's who you're being and how you're showing up in the world. Energy is felt before anything first. And I'm telling you right now, as you're doing your job every day and how you show up into presentations and in front of people, your energy is absolutely felt first before you even say anything. So if you're showing up from a way, in a place, in a state of contribution, of giving, without expectation, that's felt. Instead of, I need to do business with this person, I need a deal from you. Your energy is felt before you even said anything. And who here has felt that at a store when you walk in and you're like, please get away from me, the wall comes up. We have all felt that. So if you felt that, don't be that. Don't be the person that's repulsive. Don't be the energy that people are like, oh, here they come. I'm going to pretend to be on the phone. Hi, how's it going? Hi. Avoid. You don't be the person you want to avoid in life. But it's so important. If there's one thing that you can take away that's really going to help you in your business today, is knowing that. I understand we all have to eat. I understand we all have to make money, right? But pay attention to how your state of being is coming across when you're in front of someone or a possible client. Are you there standing, actually coming from a place of contributing, of care, of true, I want to help you. I want to find a way for you. I'm putting you first, not I'm needing something from you. And your life will change. True fulfillment doesn't come from what we get, but from what we give. Coming back to this, there's a great book called The Go-Giver. Has anyone read it? So I highly recommend it. It talks so much about this, right? I think that, I'm fascinated. I'm a mega nerd, as you can see, I love books. I'm studying consistently. I am a self-development nerd. I love studying, research, everything. And as I study behavior and even cells, I can't help to find myself so many times when I see someone coming into my office and they're trying to sell us something and I'm studying it and I'm like, oh man, I just want to coach you for a little bit. And sometimes I do offer the coaching. I ask first, right? No, I'm not just like, hey, you need to do this. I just say, hey, do you mind if I share some coaching? But it's really fun because it really is so easy, but we make it so complicated. The number one rule definitely is, how are you showing up? Who are you being in that moment? And are you being a person of service? Are you here to serve, or are you here to get something? And then it's finding out a pain point. How can I actually really genuinely help you? And having a high-level conversation versus what everyone else is saying. Stop throwing up your product out there. And I tell my team, I say, if I ever hear that you guys went into an office saying, how can I help you, or how can I earn your business? Please stop. Like, it's not the other person's job to tell you how you should help them. It's your job to figure it out. You need to become more obsessed with your clients and understanding what they actually need versus you just throwing spaghetti at the wall. It's a science. It's also an art. So just remember, just even back when 10 years ago, when I was feeling the way I was feeling and so unfulfilled, I realized that really this comes from a place of giving. If you think about it, when someone's depressed, when somebody's in a state of sadness, depression, it's coming from a place that they're not seeing a way out of the problem that they have. They believe that their problem is so much bigger, and they're not seeing a way out. This is how it works. If life is going according to the vision you had of what life should look like at the point in your life right now, if it's going the way you envisioned, you're okay. Like, you're kind of happy. If it's better than what you had envisioned, you're really happy. The same way goes on the opposite side. If your life is not going well as you had envisioned it to be, you're unhappy. If your life is not going well at all, or is matching the vision you had, that blueprint you had, you're depressed. And when people don't see a way out, that's when things get really dark. That you do not see a way out of your big problem, and you believe that it's forever and you're stuck, and that's very dangerous, and that's where suicide comes and all of the awful things that come with the darkness. So what I've found and realized is something that helps people get out of that state of mind when they're a little bit either sad, not very happy, or perhaps even depressed, is what are people usually focusing on when they're in those states? Think about it. If you're in your problem, who are you thinking about consistently? Yourself. So if you in that moment can realize that and then shift the focus from yourself to, who can I call? Who can I focus on that might need help? Who have I not connected with? Maybe a friend, a family member, or I can go serve, or it can be so simple. You just bringing someone a smile for the day sometimes means a lot, right? And so if you're finding yourself in those states where you're, upset or have anxiety or sadness or any of that, just become aware, if you're able to, in that moment of, oh, what's my focus? I'm focused on just me right now and how crappy my life is, right? So shift the focus from you to someone else, and it'll help you get out of that. Okay, talked about the 6 human needs and that we'd go over it. Have any of you heard of this before? Okay, This is cool. So it's new content for most of you. So we have 6 human needs, and they are needs because you need them. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with any of this. Love and connection, significance, variety, contribution, certainty, and growth. You have to have them, or else you feel like you're missing something. In your head right now, I'd love for you to rate yourself in each one, or if you want to, you can also do it on your notepad or this awesome notebook that UAMP just gave out today. So take just 2 seconds or a minute to rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 be the highest. Where are you valuing this right now in your life? So in your mind, that works too. So go. I'll give you about 30 seconds. How much love and connection are you feeling? How much significance are you feeling? How much contribution are you feeling? Where's your growth at? Where's your variety in life? So here's something that if you can write down or remember, this will help you forever. So Tony Robbins says that if certainty and significance are your top 2 focuses, you're living a very unfulfilled life. So if you're seeking a ton of certainty and if you're seeking a ton of significance, you're living a very unhappy life if those are your top 2. But also, if contribution and growth are your top 2, you're living a very fulfilling life. It fills up your spirit. So just some great information for you. See where you're at and what changes do you want to make to balance that out. The first time I did this exercise, guess what my top 2 were? I was very unhappy. Remember, I told you, right? Guess what my top 2 were?
Significance and certainty.
Yeah. And I did this and I'm like, pfft. So in that moment, I decided to change it for contribution and variety because at that point, I was seeking too much certainty, right? And they've changed as I've changed. Different versions of me. But guess what? I've sure, like anytime that I'm feeling a certain way and I'm like, I'm probably being a control freak right now. And I'm seeking a lot of certainty right now. And I can recognize that in myself. That emotional intelligence is so important for you guys, especially in leadership. You can't figure yourself out. How are you going to lead a team? How are you going to understand other people? Lead yourself first. So, is this helpful? Okay.
What were the top 2 that you don't want to be again?
Yeah, it's significance and certainty. Having those top 2. And again, you guys, these are needs. So it doesn't mean that you're like, oh, I don't ever need significance. Like, of course, everyone needs some recognition, right? Like, we see this all the time. And at work, like, people need to feel some sort of significance. So it's not that you don't have it and you're completely exited out. It's a need. But what's your priority? How much more do I have? Oh, good. Okay. Okay, so how many of you have set your 2025 goals? You have your business plan figured out? Okay, I'm gonna ask again because like only a quarter of the room. How many of you actually have your goals or have a little bit of an idea? Okay, about half. So the rest of you, I highly encourage you to really pay attention to what you want to create in life. I just had a goal setting workshop last week because I'm obsessed by this. Because you are here to create a life by design, not by circumstance. People spend more time planning out their vacations than they spend their time planning out their life. So pay attention to what you want and write it down and create a roadmap for it. Unless you want to be like the 80% of people out there that are just like living life by circumstance. This is where you can take control of your life. This is where you get to design your life. So this is going to be fun. I do this with my team every year, and I do this whenever I teach some coaching clients. But these are all the areas of life that we focus on because everything connects with one another. Like, you don't tell me that what's going on at home does not affect what's going on at work. We all can laugh at that. Like, that's ridiculous. Of course it does. It doesn't mean that you might show up, and being like, okay, I'm going to not worry about that right now, and you show up in the best state that you can. But of course it impacts you. Everything is attached. So for those of you who perhaps have not worked on their goals, I would write this down. It's a great starting point. But what are your goals for contribution? So I did this last week, in that goal setting workshop. It was virtual. And someone's like, what's contribution? I'm like, okay, maybe I should answer that. Like, perhaps she doesn't know. So contribution means what the topic is today, is giving back. Okay? So what are your goals to help contribute to people next year? What are your career goals? What are your relationship goals? Perhaps it's relationship with family, friends, relationship with yourself. Some people don't even know who the heck they are. Finances, spirituality, whatever way you connect with that, health and lifestyle. I know that if I'm not well and I'm not healthy, nothing else will work. So as much as I love working and I'm super ambitious and I'll outwork anyone, and I have for years, I know that if I'm not well, nothing's well, starting with this. So that's a priority for me, right? In my goals. And as you plan this out, this is how I don't believe that there's really life balance, but I do believe that there's harmony. And I believe that there are seasons for different things, right? But paying attention and focusing on a life in a holistic way rather than different buckets helps you definitely live a more fulfilled and happy life. So what are your goals? Does anyone here have a goal for contribution that they'd like to share? Does anyone feel called to do something more for other people next year? Maybe even today, while I've been having this conversation with you, did something pop into your mind that you would want to share?
So my co-owner and girlfriend and I would like to donate to the Humane Society. We got our kitten from the Humane Society, and it's more than just a nonprofit. There was so much of the founder's personal life that negative experiences impacted them, and then from those negatives she drew out the positive and wanted to contribute and give back, and then help form the Humane Society. We both feel a calling to give back in that way.
That's beautiful. So for those of you who didn't hear, him and his wife want to help for the Humane Society. Anyone else want to support that too? Yes. I love that. Anyone else? Is there another group that you guys are passionate about? I'd love to hear. Yes.
I donate a portion of each closing home here to a particular charity, and this year it's been the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in UAMP.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Any animal lovers here? You can't work at Novation if you're not an animal lover. Yeah, we've helped them too. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Do your clients know about this?
Some of them do. The ones that are dog people, and I should have put it in my Christmas card, but I haven't made my fourth quarter donation yet, and so I think I probably will send a memo to all of my closings from this year and let them know how much we were able to donate.
Yeah, they're a part of this. That's beautiful, you guys. And this is the stuff that people miss. It's such a miss all the time. Especially if someone's contributing to this, you should be telling them about this. You should be sharing this. Remember, people, and we've all heard this before a million times, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Okay. And really, a lot of that is that they share the same values. So if somebody loves dogs or just loves giving back, they want to surround themselves with people who are like them. Right? Anyone else have somebody they're passionate about, a group of people? MJ?
I'm very passionate about single moms.
Single moms.
It does pull at my heartstrings. So I, when I found myself a single mom 7 years ago, I did have to lose through the holidays. And ever since I promised myself that I would always give back specifically to single moms, even single moms that are able to afford the holidays, for example. Like having that element of surprise and having that element of not so much humility, but receiving and feeling like you're not alone. It really, really changes someone's life and perspective. And so I had a client die by suicide last week. She was a single mom.
Wow, sorry to hear that. It's awful.
Struggling, not knowing that they were going to survive the holidays. And so for me, I always try to find, whether it's one family or several families that I can help during the holidays. I don't necessarily like to announce that I do that, but I just feel called this year to
Yeah.
kind of throw it out into the universe. Find a single parent.
I love that. And let me, by the way, anyone else passionate about this? Single moms or can relate in some way? Okay. So this is my distinction between being humble, because society, there's a lot of stigma with that too, of like, well, you can give back and like you don't need to announce it to anyone. Like, and I know people that are super wealthy that give a lot and they never talk about it. And I think that's admirable as well. I'm not taking away from that. But there's a huge distinction, you guys, on being humble and staying humble versus talking about it, when the collaboration of everyone coming together will create a bigger impact as well. Because just by MJ announcing that there were at least 4 people in the room who raised their hands and they would probably love to participate or help with something like that. So if you've been a little more like hidden in your giving back, I'm not taking away from that, but I would ask yourself the question, would this be more impactful if I get other people involved? And if the answer is yes, then you need to reach out to other people, because it's in the numbers, it's in the masses where we'll make huge impact, right? And there's a time and a place for everything. I don't announce everything I give back. Like, that's ridiculous. And there's times that I'm very quiet about things, you know? But there's times where I'm like, I'm calling the people. I need the masses. I need the community to come together. Because together, we make a big change. So thanks, everyone, for sharing. And I'm sure now, there's more ideas flowing. Here's the thing. Your business should be built around mission. There's those days. Anyone here have had like a really bad day the last couple years? If you don't raise your hand, you're a liar. Okay? So, right? But I'm telling you guys, and as an entrepreneur, and I've been building this business for almost 10 years, it sounds crazy. But there's days where I am like, how in the world am I going to overcome this challenge now? Or how am I going to figure out a solution? Luckily, like, I know what to do and I can process it. And I'm like, oh, there's actually a few solutions. But when you're in those moments and you're having those hard days, you're like, I don't know what to do. If you don't have a purpose or a real mission behind what you're doing, you're not going to go through. You're not going to make it. I'm sorry to tell you that. You're going to find another excuse or reason why you're either going to quit or get out or not find a way, because you're not connected to what really matters. What actually matters to you? What's your mission in life, and how are you talking about that in whatever advertisement or marketing piece you're doing or presentation to your clients, because people don't buy a product or a service. They really don't. They buy an identity or an emotion. I'm going to repeat that. People do not buy products or services. They buy an identity or they buy an emotion. So how are you coming through to connect with people? Through that. If you're not out there talking about your mission or how you want to give back or what the purpose is behind your business, you're not going to set yourself apart. And I see this in networking all the time. I've networked. I'm a master networker. I was NARP's national president 2 years ago. The absolute pleasure and honor. I've been in every room with all of your bosses, you guys. All the executives from any housing industry, I've had the opportunity to meet. And I'm watching all these people in these rooms and loan officers and realtors and ancillary services, and everyone's networking the same way. Hi, how are you? What's your name? Oh, good. What company are you with? What do you do for a living? How's your year? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, how are you setting yourself apart? This conversation is the same one I've had with 100 people before you. What are you talking about in those conversations? What are you saying that people are going to remember? They should walk away from you feeling like you were memorable. Like your energy is beautiful. Like people will remember your energy, that you said something that was different. You talked about something that was of higher intelligence, or perhaps you talked about your mission and they connected to, because people buy what? Did I say? Identity or emotions. So stop being like everyone else. You're just another number. Why? Go back to pay attention when you're in a networking event, and perhaps some of you even today. Practice today when we're done. What are you saying? How are you? How's the weather? How's your business? How's been the last 2 years? Like, oh my gosh, come up with something interesting that sets you apart. Give without expectation. You guys have had, wow, I sometimes have no idea how things happen for me, and I'm like, this was definitely a miracle. People are like, you're amazing. I'm like, okay, I believe that I'm an amazing person, and I've dedicated so much of my work to become the person I am today, but trust me, like someone has my back, because there are miracles that happen in my life on a daily basis. And if you pay attention, that's happening in your life too. Giving without expectation. There's so much that has come from this, and I think that's the biggest key point here that I want to give to you guys is so many people are out there doing something because they want exchange for something else. It's very transactional. I understand, it's business. But I'd love for you guys to test this out, perhaps in your next appointment or your next opportunity. Actually show up without expecting anything in return and see what happens. I have so many stories I could share with you guys, but I don't have the time and I also don't want to bore you. But I can, like, one that came up for me this year that was this huge opportunity. I had the opportunity in a down market to acquire a different title company, and I did that this year. The reason why I had the opportunity to do it, and this is what was repeated by those owners, they said, I remember when we were launching this 5 years ago, we called you to get some advice from you. We were stuck, we didn't know what to do, and you freely, without wanting or needing anything in return, helped us. There was nothing in it for you. And we remember that. And then I had the opportunity to acquire them because they remembered, and obviously there was a strong relationship, and I'm really good with my numbers, and I'm a good business owner, right? Like, not just because of that, but that stood out to them. I've been a part of NARP for over a decade, and I've given back, like we all do this as a voluntary service, right? It's similar to like Brittany, anyone who's a part of this amazing as an organization, like we give this, we don't get paid for it, we're just giving to give back. 10 years to that, and there's been so many amazing opportunities and people I've been able to meet. Like I said, I've met anyone who's anyone in housing. I've been able to meet US presidents. I've been able to, hear these incredible speakers like top 500, Fortune 500 CEOs. Incredible opportunities I would have never found myself ever as a little girl in Mexico ever seeing for me. And I am sitting at dinner actually with my significant other, and I receive a call from the CEO, co-founder, Gary Acosta of NARIP, and he says, hey, Nuria, I have two things for you. One is that I'm gonna go to NASDAQ and we're going to do the whole celebration, get to ring the bell for Latitude Ventures, which is a venture capital that's helping Hispanic, Latino founders get capital, which is amazing. And he said, and they asked me to bring 2 people that are Mexican co-founders of companies that can see themselves really growing and perhaps even one day becoming public. Can you go? I'm like, excuse me, let me cancel all my plans. Yes, I'll be there, right? Like a no-brainer. I'm like, what is happening? I'm sitting there at NASDAQ ringing the bell, get my photos on and I'm like, is this my real life? Pinch me right now. What is this? And on the same call, he says, do you think that we can get Tony Robbins to NARIP at Latitude next year? And I'm like, yes. Without even thinking about it, I'm so programmed by Tony. Yes, right? So all the stars align. We get to have him be our keynote speaker. And, I obviously connect everyone together. And then, such a beautiful moment, but I got to actually present him on stage at our national convention. And it was one of my greatest, most memorable, amazing moments of my life because of what it meant for me, right? So I share all of this with you because, just coming back real quick to this, there's just been so much that you can give without expecting, and then really life has your back, you guys. Life has your back in those moments where you're like, I don't even know how I'm gonna figure this out, or I don't know how I'm gonna get the help I need, and then something happens or appears. Because life does have your back. Life supports more of what supports life. That's the part that most entrepreneurs don't talk about, is the faith aspect of entrepreneurship and business. Once you've done all that you could do, that you've created the road, you've created your business plan, you have taken from everything that's been from in here into the outer physical world. You've talked about it. You have a plan of action. You've created a roadmap, and you've taken massive action with so many no's, with failing, with not having things work out for you many times. I've had way more failures than I've had successes in my company for it to be successful. No one talks about that, right? But massive action, continuous. You don't ever give up on your dream or your goal, ever. You can change the strategy. You can change the way that perhaps it will look like, but don't give up on your dream, ever. So it takes commitment, and then the very last part that most people forget about this manifestation process is faith. That's what people call surrender, is really faith, that you believe that life is gonna have your back. And so a lot of times that's protection. How many people in this room have wanted something so bad, and then in a couple years or even a few months, you're like, whoa, did I miss a bullet? I can see now why that didn't work out. Perhaps it was a relationship, perhaps it was a work relationship, or you didn't end up with the company you wanted to be at, and then you're like, whoo, did I dodge a bullet, right? The guy ended up in jail, So you have to trust that life's happening for you and not to you, and that life really supports whatever's out there to really give to community. So my whole message today, and I hope you guys obviously can hear this, is be a blessing. Be, we work so much on like to-do lists, like all of my to-do lists. It's not about all the doing. It's about who you're being. And that's what matters far more than what you're doing. Who are you being? How are you showing up in the world? How are you showing up in your relationships, at work, in your presentations? Please, please don't be the person that everyone's trying to avoid at the store. Stop it. Be a person of contribution, that people feel that energy, like, ooh, I'm attracted to that person because they actually care, because they're here to serve. I can feel that they're genuine. I have my sales manager here, Tristan, and guess what the main thing people say about her? And I'm going to embarrass you for a second. They're like, oh my gosh, we love Tristan. She's so genuine. She actually really cares about me. I'm like, yes, I know. This is why, because people feel that. Do you care about someone? You can't. I told Tristan when I was recruiting her, I said, Tristan, do you want to come be an escrow officer? She said, no. I said, she was a notary. She had a notary company. So she'd come into our office. And this is a perfect example. Sorry to put you on the spot. This wasn't a part of the thing, but with this, I saw something in her. I saw a light in her. She came into our office. We were doing one of our give backs. And she came in with a bunch of items for the give back we were collecting for. And I met her and I said, oh my gosh, she gets it. That you cannot train someone's character and essence of wanting to contribute, to give, to help. I said, I see this light in her. She's a unicorn. I can train her on sales and everything else. And she's the best out in the industry, hands down. I'm sorry, everyone else, but I do have the best. But it's true, you guys. This is it. How I recruit and hire my people, it's a lot of these values. I can train you and coach you on all the other things, but if your character, if you're not there to serve, if you don't care for people, you're not in alignment with our culture. Go work somewhere else. It's fine. There's a place for everyone, right? So be a blessing. Be a blessing how you're showing up with your family, with your friends. And I'd love to just end with this. Do I still have a couple minutes? Okay. I'd love to end with this. And I know I love getting people uncomfortable. And so I hope you feel a little bit of that. But you don't have to. This is obviously optional. But I'd love to do just a quick gratitude exercise with you all today. Because when you come from a place of gratitude, first of all, gratitude and fear can't ever coexist. And so I want to gift you something that you can always come back to in those moments, or perhaps before you're showing up to a really important meeting. You can do this, right? So if you're willing to play full out today, for you, this isn't for me. I'd love to share this with you so you have this at any time that you want it. But so I'll have you guys close your eyes, and I'll just have you connect to your inner self, your heart. Feel your heartbeat. If you want to place your hands over it, that's beautiful. And I just want you to focus on your breath. Breath is life. Take a big inhale. Hold it at the top for 3 seconds. And exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. And I'd just love for you to think about all of the things that you're grateful for, starting with small things. Are you grateful to be alive today? Are you grateful for your family? For your loved ones? That you have a place to live? That you get to eat healthy food? You have clean water. For the sun, for the moon, for the stars, for the ocean, for nature, the mountains, for the sunsets, and for things that we sometimes don't pay attention to that are just such a gift. And there's so much grace in that simple moment. Are you grateful for your team? For the experiences that you've been able to create this year with your family, with your loved ones? For your health? For the trips? For the lessons? Are we grateful for those lessons that we've all had the opportunity to learn from this past couple of years? Are you grateful for the person that you've become? For love, for passion, for joy, for that inner child, that younger version of yourself that you get to protect and love and have your younger selves back. What else are you grateful for today? Feel those same emotions of that moment that you can remember. That joy, that happiness, the excitement, the fulfillment, the love. Just sit in it for a second. What else can you be grateful for today? When you're ready, you can open your eyes. So what would happen if you showed up from this space to your next meeting or your date or being with your children? Thank you guys for having me today.
Okay, first, does anyone have any questions for Nuria?
Oh.
Okay. Second, I love everything that you shared. Angie and I were in a room. I don't see Dan. Last week where we actually had a conversation about how we show up for our business and shifting that. How many of you feel like the last 3 years, 2 years, the last little while has been, oh my gosh, I need this still, oh, I need this relationship, oh, I've got to figure this out. And you've been a little bit of that repulsive person that she talked about. And again, if you don't think these steps are being very honest, everyone in this room should probably have their hand raised right now. Because we've all felt that, right? But we had a conversation that said, if we go back to how can I serve these people? How can I give to these people? How can I help solve these problems? How can I show up in a way that says, hey, I'm just here to contribute to you and help you and serve you? And if that ends up meaning I'm the best person to help you with a deal or whatever it may be, fantastic. But you show up in so much of a different way and attract so much better business that way. And you're not that repulsive person, right? So love everything she shared. I hope that that was helpful for everybody, and I hope that you can go into 2025 with a little bit of a different approach while you're doing your planning, setting your goals, thinking about your relationships, thinking about your health and everything that you want to take care of for you. And so one big, huge round of applause for Nuria, please. And then I hear you know Tony Robbins, and we're looking for a UAMP speaker for September. So just, just saying. Okay, fantastic. So, does everyone have their raffle tickets? Yes. Does anyone need their raffle ticket? Can we get a raffle ticket? Whoever on the board has the raffle tickets? Chris is out of the room. He's my raffle ticket person. I have the raffle tickets.